just in case. Okay. So we don't need the lining right now. We're going to put that aside. And we're going to attach the straps. There's just 3 things we're doing today. So to attach the straps, I want you guys, I've already attached my strap on this side. You're going to find the center of your bag. So I'm doing the large version. So it's like a little over 20 inches wide. So I put my mark in the center at like 10 and an eighth with a little chalk. And then for the large bag, I measured 3.5 inches, 3.5 inches to this side, 3.5 inches to that side, and I marked. So I'm gonna use my measuring tape. I already did the other side. I'm gonna do this side with you guys. Half. So if you're doing the smaller bag version, I only did 3 inches on my sample bag that I showed you guys last week. So if you're doing the smaller version, you only need to measure 3 inches over from the center. But if you're doing the larger version, the 3.5, I think looks better. So you just use some chalk to do that. And then you take your strap and you just lay it on top of my chalk mark right here. And clip it with your, I'm using the clips, you guys can pin it. And then do the same for the other side. Make sure that your strap is not twisted. You know, you don't want it twisted like this. You want to make sure it's all facing the same way. So I'm going to do one strap at a time. So I've already clipped this one. So you're going to pin them. I'm using clips because this is like leather. That. And if you want to make the straps wider than 3.5, you know, or 3 or whatever, you can change it if you want, but this is, I think this looks good. So now I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm just going to do a little stay stitch to hold this in place. I'm going to go sew right back and forth right here. Put my needle in, sew over, back, forth, over and over to hold the strap in place. I'm going to do that on both sides. Then I'm going to pin my strap to the other side and do the same thing again. So I'm going to go do that right now at the sewing machine. Does anyone have any questions?
When you line up the straps, you're just doing it flush with the fabric, right? You don't put it over a little bit?
Yeah, just flush with the fabric is fine. Good question. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and do my straps. Oh, you guys, I'm sewing like a quarter inch from the edge. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but you only want to sew about a quarter inch from the edge of the fabric of the strap because you want it to stay inside the 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay. So I'm going to show you, oops. Show you mine. So this is what I did. So I sewed a little bit off the edge of the strap. So it looks like this, and I went back and forth a few times. Back and on this one, I did it a little bit more. So now I'm gonna do the other side. Hi, Carol, welcome. I don't think I said hello.
Hi. Sorry, I'm kind of watching today because we went to a gender reveal party and now I don't have time to set up. So I'm like,
Oh, okay.
probably watch it at the watch your recording later when I actually do it again.
Okay, no worries.
Right now your bags are inside out, right? The black is the lining of the outside.
No, right side out. You
It's right
guys,
side out.
that is a really good question. I hope you guys are working. You want to attach it to the right side out. This is the inside of my
Oh, so
bag.
that is inside. Okay.
This is the inside, my interfacing, and this is my fabric, the right side.
So is the white the actual fabric, or is that interfacing?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What?
So are the fabric, because the linings on, oh, this is just the outer. I'm thinking the inner liner is not sewed together yet, right?
Yeah, we don't have the lining on yet.
Okay, that's just the outer. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so you're looking at the right side of the bag. You're attaching the straps to the right side, the side that's going to facing the world.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to go do the other one. So now that I've done that, the next step is to attach the lining. I'm going to turn my bag inside out. So now my bag's inside out. I'm going to put my straps inside this. And I'm going to take the lining. I have my lining right side out. So it's showing me this is my pretty side. And I'm going to stick it inside the bag. So here's my bag, and I'm just shoving it inside. So now I have right sides together. This is my right side, and this is my right side. So they're both together. And I'm just going to start pinning. So I'm going to match the seam allowance on the lining on the side seam with the seam allowance on the lining on the bag. And then I'm gonna do it on the other side. Seam allowance on the lining, seam allowance on the bag, match it and pin it. And then I'm gonna pin all the way around the whole thing because I'm getting ready to sew. I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
Oh, Amy, can I ask, are you recording with Spotlight on?
I'm recording it with the pin. I have my pin.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
So I'm just going to be pinning right now, attaching the side seam of the lining to the side seam of the body fabric. And the straps are just pushed inside.
Do you put the handles in between the lining and the outer, or do you put it like, do you sandwich it?
Yeah, the straps are just inside right here. I don't know if you can see the dark in the dark, it's not showing up, but yeah, they're inside between. You just push them in, and then you push in the lining, and then the handles will be in between the lining and the body fabric. So if your lining and your fabric were cut right, everything should be matched up. It should be really easy to pin. When you pin over the straps or the handles, it'll be a little thicker. I'm gonna have to use those clips, pin around it. After I'm done pinning, we'll sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around to attach the lining to the body, and then we can turn it all right side out. It is so hot today, and I didn't cool down my garage before class. Hot in here. There's the little pearl pug. Let's show you to Carol. Can you hold her up? Carol, can I show you my dog?
Yes, please. Yeah, that's from Pause for Hope. Wait, it's a he or her?
It's a girl.
The
Pearl.
bug? Oh, it's a
Is it still
bug.
Pearl? Did you change her name?
No.
It's Pearl, right?
Yeah, she comes to Pearl. Say hi.
Oh,
Say
Pearl.
hi.
Allison, you want to see Miss Amy's dog?
Yeah.
Oh, cute. So far, doing so good.
What?
Is she doing well so far? So good. With the
Yeah,
cleaning and everything.
it's a lot of work. It's a
I
huge
know.
adjustment. Having a
So I got a
dog.
3-year-old.
Yeah, she's like a 3. She's only 1 year old, so she's like a puppy, and she eats everything on the floor. Come on, out. I don't want her to pick up that. I haven't been keeping the floor clean, and I don't want her to swallow a pin or anything. But yeah, so that's nerve-wracking because she's eats everything, and she wakes us up really early. She wants to play. She's like a little child.
I'm so glad you found a match, though.
I know, she's super sweet though. She's a snuggle bunny. She'll just nap with you on the couch or sit with you. She has a good personality. I like her personality.
Oh yeah, then all these other things are worth it.
Yeah. She's just super fun and playful too. Just and athletic. Like she'll run and she's like a jackrabbit. I had
She
no
looks
idea
athletic.
pugs could jump like that.
She has long legs.
So that was the little dog interlude. Back to pinning. Okay, so I'm done pinning. And I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance right here along the edge, 1/2 inch, all the way around, back stitch at the beginning and the end. And then after I'm done, I'll come back to the table and then we can turn it right side out. And we're almost done.
Amy, does it matter where you start sewing?
I like to start on the side seam right here. I like to start like a little behind the side seam and then go that direction. Start here and go that direction. Oops. Lost my camera. So I finished sewing all the way around, and now I'm going to use that hole that we left opening and put my hand in and turn it. Actually, first I'm gonna press the seam open before I turn it inside out. The seam that we just sewed, I'm gonna, well, I don't know. I can kind of sew, kind of iron it. I'll show you. Just gonna leave the bag open like this, with the lining smushed out. I'm gonna lay it on the table, kind of offset, so that the seam on this side is behind it, so they're not on top of each other. The seam is back here and the other seam is over here. And I'm gonna try to just press it open a little bit. I don't want to wrinkle the rest of the bag, so I'm just kind of lightly pressing it open. If you have a really hot iron, just doing that helps a lot. And I'm going to turn it over and do the other side. I'm going to do the same thing and offset seam allowance, so I'm not smashing that seam allowance underneath. And open this one up. A little bit, every little bit helps. This bit. Side. So now I'm going to turn the right side out. Just going to grab the right side of the bag and just kind of slowly get it through. It's hard, kind of like birthing a baby here. Get this through this tiny hole. But you just slowly pull it through. You guys have done this before on other projects. Once we get it through, we can close that opening in the lining. And then we can press that seam again from the right side. And then we'll do our final step, which is the top stitch around the edge of the top of the bag. So I got it through. I'm just going to shape it out. And I'm going to take my lining and fix it up so it's ready to sew. I just want to make sure it's ironed nice and flat. And now I'm going to take my pins and I'm just going to sew it like closed like this. So I'm going to pin right here on the edge and I'm going to sew right on the edge here. I'll pin it and I'll show you again. any of you have any questions right now? Okay, so this is what it looks like. There we go. I just pinned it like this, so the two edges are kind of kissing each other, and then I'm gonna lay it flat on the machine like this, and I can stitch right over where these pins are, right here along the edge. So when you're done, it looks like this. So it's not a flush seam like your other seams. It's kissing, a kissing seam. I go to the machine and do that. So that's done. And what I'm gonna do now is just iron it a little. I'm gonna push it into my bag. Raj is just joining. Hi Raj, welcome. So I pushed the lining into the bag. It's looking like this. I'm just kind of sorting it out here. My lining is inside. Hopefully I did my strap. Looks like I did my straps right. Yay. So this final step really makes the bag, and that's the top stitch part. Thread I'm going to trim. So to do that, does anyone have any questions so far? We're almost done. So before I start top stitching all along this edge here, so when it's done, it looks like when it's done, you have this double top stitch all around the edge. See it? This one. Before we do that, I'm going to iron. So I'm going to just use my fingers to push the lining down, kind of finger crunch it to get it started. I don't want the lining to be showing. I don't really want it popping up. So I'm pushing it under as much as I can, and I'm going to iron it down all the way around. So it'll take me a little while to do that. I want to do it really correctly because I don't want that lining popping up. I can help it. If your lining's the same color as your bag, then it wouldn't matter so much. So after I iron it, I'm gonna pin it too. Keep it in place.
So Amy,
Yeah,
so if, I guess it would have been easier to put in the pockets without sewing the interface, the inside lining before we sewed the sides.
yeah, you wanna put the pocket on your lining before you attach the lining.
No, the sides. Before, you know how last week we did the sides, so I'm sewing, so what I'm thinking is it would have been easier to put the
Before you do the side seams, yes, for sure. You wanna do all that. If you're adding pockets or adding straps like Lindsay did, the right way to do it is before you sew anything together. Because you want to work on something that's flat. That would be the easiest way. But Melissa was talking to me about adding them on now. So I was just telling her that she could go ahead and add them now. But,
I'm adding it now.
huh?
I'm adding it now.
Oh, did you already sew your side seam?
Yeah, we did it last,
Yeah,
2
yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna-
yeah, but it would be much easier to add them.
Right, I'm noticing that. Okay,
Oh, okay.
okay, so I thought I just,
Yeah, that's the way that you would do it properly. Yeah.
okay.
But since she just asked me that question just now, I wasn't planning for you guys to do pockets, or I would have had you sew them on last week.
Okay. So it doesn't matter how many inches down, put it,
Doesn't matter what
how many inches inside to put it, like,
for the pocket.
yes.
Well, I don't know what I mean. I don't know what you guys are wanting to do. I mean, she didn't tell me what kind of pocket she wanted to make. She was just asking me a question. So,
I just cut a small one.
yeah, like maybe a 2x3 or something, or I would like draw it out on a piece of paper and cut it out.
I just measured a rectangular thing, and so it doesn't matter how many inches down, put it then.
If I was doing it, I would use a ruler and draw it out on a piece of paper and cut it out, and then I would place the paper pocket on the bag to see if I liked it, the way it looked, and if it fit the way I wanted it to fit. That would be the right way to do it. Make a little pattern and kind of play with it. But if you guys are kind of just adding this in, so it's more of a shortcut kind of thing. You can do it sort of guerrilla style. So I'm done ironing my lining down, and now I'm gonna pin because I really want to make sure that my top stitch stays in place. I mean, keeps that lining in place. And I'm gonna stitch from the top of this, from the outside of the fabric here, not from the lining. I'm gonna stitch right here on top. And I'm gonna use thread that matches. you want to use contrast thread because you think that's going to look cool, maybe it matches your straps or handles. I'm calling them straps. And you want to match that for a design element, you can do that. I'm just keeping mine really sort of sophisticated and simple. But if you want to make it more sporty or something, if you wanted to do like a zigzag stitch on the top, you know, and be creative, you can do that. I guess you could even like attach like a grosgrain ribbon along the edge if you wanted to make it super preppy sort of look. So you guys are getting super fancy pants now. You're wanting to do pockets, and Lindsay with her straps. You guys are becoming advanced sewers. That's exciting.
I missed it. Can I see Lindsay's straps?
Yeah, they look really cool. Lindsay, show them to Carol.
Oh, nice.
I had a crease in the fabric all the way down the you know, the side. So I just bought some more and I just covered it.
Wait, so did you do the strap already, what they're doing today, or is that a separate straps?
That's a separate strap.
Oh, so you're not doing it inside like Amy is doing it, right?
No, I am. I'm doing everything that Amy's doing. It's just before, like I sewed this. This is extra. I sewed this to the outer fabric before I put it together.
Oh, so it's not a continuous strap.
No,
doesn't
it
go all
just
the way
it
up.
just kind of matched up that way.
Oh, got it. Oh, that's nice.
Thanks.
Lindsay, is that the same pattern?
Yep.
Or,
Yep.
oh, okay.
This
Yeah,
is the same pattern.
she just added the strapping before class. Before class, she was able to get that on her sewing machine, and that was probably a feat.
I had to go really slowly.
And get it in there. So yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, I did it before we sewed the two together.
Okay, but you did it after you did the box bottom, right? Of the outer layer?
Yeah, because I just kind of decided to do it yesterday. So it's, you know, it probably would have been easier if I did it to individual pieces, but this way it kind of reinforces the bottom.
Oh, because that was the issue you had. You were trying to figure out how to reinforce the bottom.
Yeah.
So did you end up putting anything on the inside, like an interfacing or anything?
No, I got lazy.
Okay. But that did it, right? That kind of reinforced
So
it?
it kind of, yeah, so it kind of does it. You know, I haven't used it yet, so, but I think the idea will be there.
And you got the same webbing that the library gave us, right?
It's basically the same thing. I went to Joann's. It's not exactly the same, but it's super close.
I can't tell the difference, at least
yeah.
there, yeah. That looks great.
Thanks.
All right. I finished pinning the edge, so I'm gonna go to the sewing machine, and I'm literally gonna put my needle in. I like to start at the side seam. Lindsay, that's a good question. I start at my side seam, usually behind it or before it, because if you start right on it, it's super thick, and sometimes your needle gets messed up there. And oh wait, I'm gonna do it right side up. So I need to turn it inside out. So you want to turn it inside out, and then I like to start on my side seam. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to stitch. My first stitch is only like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, somewhere in between that, not more than 1/4. Right here on the edge, right here on the edge, all the way around. And then I'm going to go around again, and I'm going to stitch a 1/2 inch from the edge. So I'm going to have 2 top stitches right next to each other.
Amy, when do you do first? How far away from the edge should I do first?
About 1/8 of an inch, like somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4.
Okay. And I should turn it inside out?
Yeah, you want to do the top stitch on the right side of the fabric because it'll look better that way.
Okay.
So I finished my first top stitch and I'm gonna just give it a quick press with the iron and then I'm gonna go back and do the second top stitch. So I'm not even turning it up inside out or anything. I'm just ironing it like it is. And I've been using a lot of my bags that we make in class. Like I've been using this bag. I don't know if any of you made this. I've been using this one a lot, and my straps actually broke off. But I mean, now that you guys know how to sew stuff fairly well, you know how to go back and sew the strap back in, right? So I had to do that this week, and I just ripped the lining open and opened up the lining and put the strap back in and re-sewed it up and fixed the strap. So it's handy to know how to do those things because now you know how to put it together. All right, so I ironed the edge. It looks much better. I totally recommend ironing. And now I'm gonna go do my second top stitch. Just a ½ inch from the edge of the fabric. I had some technical difficulties. My thread got unwound, unthreaded. Rethreading. And I'm gonna start back up. So it's important to make sure that the fabric stays flat and the lining stays flat so that it doesn't bunch up. while you're sewing. Okay, so I finished sewing my 2 top stitches, and I'm going to do another quick iron. The fabric that I used for the outside of my bag is this like linen fabric that's coated with this metallic coating, so it's kind of crunchy and it's kind of like paper. It wrinkles up. I mean, I like the effect. I think it's kind of cool. So I'm not going to worry about ironing the front of it because that's sort of the look. But I just want to make sure that this top stitch that I did is laying flat and that my lining is nice and ironed. So now the fun part, when you get to turn it right side out, so yeah, that's a pretty big bag. I'm happy with it. I like mine. I hope you guys like yours. Yay! Done. Ready to go to work with it. I used some leftover leather from that first class to make the straps. So that is the tote bag.
Amy, I have a question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did the first one and I noticed all my stitching is kind of like not super straight. It's like, Is that something I can adjust on the machine or am I just sewing it funny?
Well, when you were sewing it, were you having any issues that you were noticing? Did the machine sound funny, or was it
No.
you, the sewer, that was not keeping it straight, or?
It's like, it's kind of like, it's not like it's like I'm sewing in a straight line, but the stitches aren't all in a straight line.
Oh,
That makes
That's how-
sense? Like it's
that's
probably-
your machine. Something's going on with the machine. You might want to, is it the stitch on the top or the stitch on the bottom?
Both. Well, no, stitch on the, well, both.
I would get some scrap fabric and adjust the stitch length and the stitch tension, and I would put the bobbin in again and rethread and see how if it can correct itself just by rethreading and the new bobbin and maybe adjust the stitch tension a little, make it a little looser, and make the stitch length a little longer. What are you at right now?
My stitch length is a 2. My
Yeah, I
tension,
like mine at 3.
3.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, the tension is at a 3.
You could loosen it. You could go down a little on the tension. But yeah, change the stitch length. That might help, and just make sure it's threaded properly and bobbins threaded properly.
You said to stitch length to 3?
Yeah. I'm gonna stop recording right now.